Hello, nonprofit leaders. I'm Sarah Olivieri, your host, and this podcast is here to assist people like you, executive directors, board members, and other nonprofit leaders make a bigger impact with insights, tips, and lessons learned from nonprofit leaders and experts. Having been an executive director, a board member, and now a consultant and coach, I truly understand the challenges you face. And that's why I'm here. I'm all about working smarter, not harder, so you can make a bigger impact without the burnout. And so is our sponsor, DonorBox. DonorBox isn't just a suite of helpful fundraising tools, it's a partner that helps you raise more money and supports you in retaining your donors. I love their forward-thinking approach. Visit donorbox.org to learn more. And don't forget to sign up for the Inspired Nonprofit Leadership newsletter, where you'll get bite-sized, actionable tips just for nonprofit leaders like you, delivered weekly to your inbox. Sign up at inspirednonprofitleadership.com/sign up. Okay, let's dive into today's episode. My guest for this episode is Jill Schulman, who is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran and expert in the science of bravery. With a master's degree in applied positive psychology, or you might call it the science of happiness and well-being, from UPenn, she combines evidence-based research with real-world experience to help individuals and teams embrace courage, push limits, and achieve greater performance and well-being. She has a new book just out, The Science of Bravery, which provides practical tools for developing a courageous mindset, taking bold actions, and building brave relationships, something we all need in the nonprofit space, in our lives, and probably in for-profit businesses too. Welcome, Jill. Thank you for being here. Before we dive into things around bravery specifically, would you share something about yourself personally?
Oh, yeah. I'm so used to just talking about my work and research, but something about me personally, I guess when I'm not writing or researching or speaking on bravery, then you're going to find me like hiking outside or at the gym lifting heavy weights. That's what I love to do. I love being active, and I need to carve out more time to get outside and do what I love. Yeah, that's a little bit about me.
I love it.
Oh, I have one more thing I have to share because it is
Yeah.
like timely. I'm also about to become an empty nester. My baby girl is going off to college, so that's another big shift too. So 2 daughters, one's starting her junior year, and then one is starting her freshman year. So that's another big thing in life too.
Wow, that is a big transition coming up.
Yeah, I know.
Hopefully you'll then carve out that time that you've been meaning to carve out,
exactly.
Right? So let's talk about bravery. How did you become an expert in the science of bravery?
It was kind of a long path to get there, but I've always been someone that loved taking on challenging things. I mean, it started with me. My first career was as a United States Marine, and I like taking those bold leaps. And anytime I took a bold leap that required bravery, ended up leading to the very best things in life and elevated my happiness and well-being. So I had that personal experience. But really, it all came about when I went back to school and I studied positive psychology, which is, as you said, it's the scientific study of elevating happiness and well-being. And as I was studying positive psychology, I stumbled upon one of the 5 major, basically, areas or things that you can do to become happier is around accomplishment. So, just a kind of quick background here. There's 5 things that we can do to take control of our happiness and well-being. And there's an acronym called PERMA, P-E-R-M-A. It comes from Marty Seligman, basically the father of positive psychology from Penn. P stands for positive emotion. E stands for engagement, like getting into flow state. R stands for relationships. And that one has some of the most evidence. We have to have quality relationships in life. M is meaning, and then A is accomplishment. And I really focused on accomplishment because whether we're working in a for-profit or a non-for-profit or a not-for-profit, we have goals to be able to accomplish. And I mainly work in corporate America. I do some work also with not-for-profits, but we've got big goals to be able to accomplish to serve our mission. And I became really interested in that A and PERMA. And as I dug into it, the one thing that holds people back from usually accomplishing what they want in their volunteer work, in their personal life, there's this thing, fear. Fear
Mhm.
holds people back. They control our action. And fear can be very powerful in a very negative way. It can prevent us from doing the things that we want. So I became very interested in that. And maybe it was the Marine in me of going like, I want to help people overcome their fears. But I just took a deep dive and I ended up doing my capstone research at Penn on that. And that just kind of led me down this road of like writing the book and now like talking with some of the leading researchers in bravery. And I'm just getting started. I'm having so much fun. There are evidence-based ways that we can overcome our fears. Like some people just think like, oh, I'm just not brave. I'm just not that type of a person. Or they think bravery is just like for, Marines running into battle or first responders running into a burning building. Like bravery is more than just the physical bravery. It's so much greater than that because every person has fears. And usually those fears are keeping us, holding us back from what we want. Sometimes fear is very good. It prevents us from, doing things that are dangerous. So sometimes fear is good, but most of the time, the fear that we experience, like social fear, is the fear that actually prevents us from doing the things that we should be doing to live the
Mm.
accomplish. So that's how I became interested in that.
Yeah, I love that. And so you brought up the word fear, right? And I think it's hard to think about being brave without thinking about fear as well. How so we're all kind of on using the same language. How do you define bravery?
Great question. So bravery is defined, and this definition comes from Dr. Cynthia Puri from Clemson University, one of the leading researchers in bravery, because she's done a lot of research and kind of if you look at all the definitions, this is the one that I think is the best one. And it is bravery is defined as voluntary action in the presence of fear toward a noble or worthwhile goal.
Mm,
So it's all about taking action, but it's in the presence of fear. It's not about being fearless. And
yeah.
that's another misconception. People think, "Oh, it's about being fearless." No, it's actually not about being fearless. In fact, if you do not feel fear, then you're not being brave. So, action in the presence of fear toward a noble or worthwhile goal. Or to make it in plain speak, doing something when you're scared because it matters.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
brave.
I love that. And the voluntary piece too.
Mhm.
Is this, I imagine this is a term that especially when you get into the science of studying it has evolved. What do you think are some of the meaningful evolutions or ways maybe that other people have defined it that are less helpful?
What is a couple of myths that I want to highlight or incorrect ways of thinking about bravery is thinking that it's really a narrow definition of just physical bravery because bravery is for all of us. Everyone has fears. So bravery is not just for, heroes in single moments. So that's one thing. It's not just physical bravery. And also, bravery is a skill that anyone can build. It's not a trait that you're either born with or not. So we need to understand that bravery is a skill that we can build. And literally, like when we work on our skill of bravery there's like three major ways that we can do that. It is like a muscle. So you have to do things day in and day out to build a bravery muscle. It doesn't happen just like these moments of, heroic. In fact, when you really look at some of the research and what they've studied, like some of those heroic moments that you hear about, the reason why people act like a child falls off the bridge into the water, someone's going to jump in after the child right away. They don't even think about it because it's just the right thing to do. So if
Right.
anything, like those are the moments that are actually almost easier to be brave because you're not going to think about it. You just act. So I'm talking about the type of bravery that's for you and for what you're trying to accomplish in life and for your audience. Like, what are you trying to accomplish for your not for profit? Like,
Yeah.
what it's so meaningful, the goals that we have. And if we're letting fear hold us back from achieving though, like we've got to overcome those fears. So I think that's probably the best answer I can give to you is people think it's very narrow, but it's very broad.
Mhm.
And number two, people think that bravery is a trait that you're born with, not a skill that you can build. There is some hereditary features to
Mm.
different types of bravery. And like I can get into a lot of detail, like, the physical bravery tends to be like about 35% of people who like are physically brave seem to have a family heritage of people with that same, but it's still something you can build, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of like, you know how some people are just good at math and other people struggle with math, but anyone can learn math. It's kind of the same thing. So I don't want people to think about like if they have it in their genes or whatever. Like
Right.
anyone can learn math, anyone can learn to be brave.
Yeah, I love that. So I want to get into, the things you can do to build this skill, but I really hear you first, like, so I reflect back, I hear you digging into this really important point. Like, it's kind of easy to be brave when, like, you gotta do it, right? I can think of lots of times as a parent, right? People are like, oh my God, you did that? Like, I just had to do it, right? Like,
Hmm.
my kid, I'm a single parent, right? Like, you just do it because you have to, and you figure the rest out later. But you're really getting into these moments where you don't have the consequences of doing nothing, maybe
Hmm.
are somewhat more acceptable. And
Hmm.
there you need like a much stronger muscle to.
Mm.
It's interesting. I was actually just thinking about this. I race sailboats, and I was thinking about
Oh,
this last
wow.
week that I am brave in ways around sailing. And I wasn't calling it brave. I'm not shy in the sailing community in ways that I'm shy in other parts of my life.
Mm.
And but it's that saying, it's a like a shy is like very close cousin of fear or like a
Mhm.
subset maybe. But so I was thinking like, how do I take like
Mhm.
this thing that I'm really good at over here
Uh-huh.
and like bring those skills
Mm.
over there? So that's what I'm going to be thinking about as I listen. Like, so what are the three ways of building
Yeah. Well,
bravery
something
muscle?
you said I think is a great thing to highlight for your audience is bravery is very personal, right? So for me to get on a sailboat would be terrifying. For you, you're very comfortable doing it, right?
I'm still terrifying.
Yes,
Especially we call it my exercise in facing fear because it is often
I
terrifying, but
love
I
it.
have complete control. I choose to get on and then I choose to get off.
Right, but there's all these different facets in life where someone might outwardly seem really brave, but they're terrified to admit they don't know the answer or to ask for help or to
Yeah.
be vulnerable. So, there's a lot of different facets of life and you can be brave in one physical bravery but terrified to admit a mistake at work, so there's different areas of life and this is where for each person when I work with companies and audiences, I ask them to identify like what is the one thing they've always wanted to do or what is the most important goal they have in their workplace and then identify what are the fears that are holding you back. And the
Mhm.
answer is different for everyone. Now, when we build bravery in one area, there is a little crossover. In fact, I want to go take a deeper dive in my research and looking at if, someone isn't very brave physically and they do end up like doing a triathlon or running a half marathon, like how does that show up naturally in the work environment? But I don't know the answer to that question yet. I think there
Yeah.
is going to be some overlap, but I'm just so grateful that you brought up that example. Like I'm really bold out in the sailboat, but I'm really shy in other areas. So I think what we're going to talk about of how you can build bravery for anyone out there. What are the areas that you're shy in?
Mhm.
That is an easy way of kind of talking about, having a hard time or letting fear control you. And then use these strategies that we're going to talk about to try to conquer that fear that's holding you back in those ways.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Mhm. So what are those you mentioned 3 specific
Yeah.
ways to grow
Yeah.
that. So let's
So what I'm going to be going over is like there's three different think of exercises to build your bravery muscle.
Mhm.
The first one is all about mindset. I call it the warrior mindset. It's the former Marine in me.
Mhm.
That's all comes from cognitive psychology. The second thing that and I'll go back and give you a tip in each of them. The
Sure.
second way to build bravery is learning how to take a step forward on shaky knees before you feel ready.
Mhm.
Most people just wait until the fear goes away or wait until the timing is right, which is all speak for I am letting my fear control me. So that comes from behavioral psychology, right?
Mhm.
There. And then
Okay.
the third area, so strategy number one, strategy number two really is working on what we can do ourselves to overcome the fear. The good
Yeah.
news, the third strategy is what you do to surround yourself with people to make it easier for you to be courageous. And
Yeah.
that is creating your environment. So that comes from social psychology, like
Yeah.
conformity theory.
Yeah.
So those are the three areas. And I can give you kind of an example. I mean, in my book, I go into a lot of different strategies, but really I teach 4 different things you can do. It's like going to the gym and someone saying like, this is the only cardio that you're going to do, but they say cardio is important for you to do. It's better to give people options. So, when I work with teams, I'll say like, there's different exercises you can do to build your cardiovascular, whatever. So, and then I give them options. So, but in the cognitive sense, the most basic skill that we teach is the power of yet, which comes from Carol
Mm.
Dweck's
Mhm.
research. Carol Dweck did her research on growth mindset. And it's just really shifting someone's belief from this is the way I'm born, it's fixed, there's nothing I can do to change it, to really understanding that whatever you're scared of that you don't think that you can do, that you have an ability to change it. It won't be easy, but you can do it.
Yeah.
Right. And so
Door
what's
isn't closed to you.
yeah,
There's the
it's not.
opportunity to open
The,
it.
the door is not closed. So when you just say, if someone says, I just could never get in front of a group and speak, just I would ask that person, say, okay, say the exact same thing and add those 3 little letters in the one word yet.
Mhm.
So I can't speak in front of a group yet. And then
Mhm.
I'll say it again now with more confidence. I can't speak confidently in front of a group yet. And then I just let it sit for a moment. Say, now what's different? Right. And I love that you use the analogy of the door. It opens the door of possibility. Like I can choose to practice and do things to become better at public speaking. You have a fear of it, but there's
Mhm.
something that you can do. So just that little trick. I mean, it's just one simple thing. There's a lot of different things I
Yeah.
do, but I mean, if we don't win the battle in our mind first and think it's possible, the reason that's so important is if you think it's impossible, then that's going to control your actions and you're not going to do anything. So we at least need to believe that it's possible. Mhm.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love how those each come from like different areas of thinking about how we can approach the worlds ourselves in different ways, the
Mhm.
cognitive way, the behavioral way. And
Mhm.
that third one I haven't heard before, but that actually really resonated with me about like having support. Because actually, in my example around sailing, what I've been thinking a lot as in business about building entrepreneurial community around myself, having that group of people who I can reach out to help for easily because I
Mhm.
know that they want to be there to help me just like I want to help them. That nature of the community. And actually, in this thinking about sailing, one thing I realized and how I came to that realization was in sailing, I've found myself in a community of it's a small world of supportive people, where I'll just like call like the other day I had this like scrap piece of line. It was like stretchy bungee line. I wanted to know if it would work on my boat. And I literally just called up one of the top rigging shops and was like, hey, Ed, right? Because these are such small communities, like the owner just answers the phone. I'm like, will the line work? Because the answers aren't on YouTube. And I was like, oh my God, how powerful that I would just like in business, I would never just call up the
Mm.
CEO of some company who maybe like we've chatted briefly once, but doesn't really know me and be like, can you help me problem solve this thing? Like if this spare part will work for me. And I was like, but I'm doing that in sailing and I could be doing that but
Yes.
I'm not, right? And like, why is it so easy here to pick up the phone and not
Mhm.
there? And one of my conclusions was, well, I don't quite have that community like I do in sailing.
Mm.
So like, let me get that as part of my journey.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you need to create the community so that
Yeah.
it helps you. You're right. I call it a brave tribe. Like think about like whatever your goal is, and let's just use a sailing example. Like let's say I wanted to start sailing. I live in Southern California, so I mean I could. I mean the ocean's right
Yeah.
here. So if I wanted to sail and if I just tried to get a boat and did everything by myself, I could eventually figure out how to sail, but it would take a lot longer and be a lot more painful for me to learn by making mistakes. But I know in Dana Point, there's a Dana Point sailing club, right? I
Mhm.
should join the community of all the other people that have already accomplished what I'm seeking to accomplish. So the bravery is reaching out to people that have
Yeah.
actually accomplished the thing that you want to accomplish or are better at it. Like, are you brave enough to suck at something? Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
surround yourself with people that don't suck, that are really good at it. And then you have to be a little bit humble and say, can I
Mhm.
learn from you?
Right.
Or I made a mistake, so that's just a simple thing as who's great at the thing that you want to be great at. Maybe you have a new fundraising strategy and it's not working very well. What other leaders in our space have used that strategy very effectively? We can all help each other. So call that person, make them part of your community, and ask questions and be curious. And
Yeah.
we love helping each other. Here's the interesting thing. I think we hesitate. Like you said, you'll call the sailing guy, but sometimes in business, we're like, well, I don't want to call the
Right.
CEO. Because we assume like, oh, he's too busy. He's not going to want to help me. I don't want to be a pain.
Right. He's
But
going to be annoyed.
he's going to be annoying. We have all these stories in our head and we don't
Right?
know.
I'm competition or like,
We have to have that abundance mindset, right? Like
Mhm.
it's not like there's certain fixed dollars that are going to go to my philanthropy versus another one, right? But what I wanted to get to is that all the literature on pro-social behavior, which is when people have an opportunity to help mentor, to answer questions, to mentor others,
Yeah.
they get such a huge boost to their well-being.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
every time we don't make the call, you're robbing them of an opportunity to do that,
Yeah.
right? So we should we got to build a community, and I like using the example, and this is such an obvious one. Like if you have a goal, you're like, I want to get fit. I want to lose weight. I want to start running. If the only people you hang out with are people that are not active, that like to stay on the couch, that are gamers or just binge watch Netflix, and that's what you do with those people, then your chances of accomplishing your goal of getting fit and running that half marathon, it's going to be like running into the wind with a parachute on your back because everyone around is going to be like, well, why are you doing that? Just come and hang out with us and let's just have some wine and just watch Netflix, right? So you need to join a community or find people who are doing the thing that you want to do. And if you start hanging out with those people, this is conformity theory. Your norms will start matching the people that you're around. So it's that little thing that you heard probably your parents say, or the wise person like you are who you hang out with.
Mhm.
Absolutely true because of conformity theory. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm always trying to like find people who are smarter than me and more accomplished than me, and I want to hang out with them because I want to learn from them. Right.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, and I can see how, like, there's, like, so many layers because right, you have to sometimes get in the mindset that lets you enter the
Hmm.
community, right? You said, like,
Hmm.
remind yourself that people who are better than you actually probably love mentoring and helping, right? So, I think that's really,
Yeah.
great. Go ahead.
And they all do like support one another. So, like, if you have the community and you've got, let's say, 3 or 4 people now that that have accomplished the thing that you're seeking to accomplish, that can make you believe more that it's possible. Because when you talk to them, like, let me give you an example. When I started my goal of writing the book, I was really lucky enough to have some great mentors, and he wrote the foreword in my book. His name is Ken Blanchard. So he's written a lot of different books. And when I was stuck and I was having some self-doubt, so I need to work on the cognitive side. Like, I don't know if I can write. Like, I sit down and I have writer's block. I just don't know if I can do it. So I go to my mentor and I share where I'm struggling, which takes bravery to be a little bit vulnerable. But then Ken Blanchard says, oh, the same thing happened to me.
Mm.
I'm like, what? How many books do you have? New York Times bestselling books, like 48. How on earth is it possible? He goes, oh, yeah, I had that same struggle. He's like, but you talk so eloquently about your ideas. You know what you want to say. And I said, but when I go to write, it just doesn't come out. And he says, well, then why don't you just talk it out and use dictation? That was the thing that unstuck me. So if I wouldn't have had, so my mentor helped me with my belief, because if they had self-doubt and they had struggles and you're like, and they were successful, then then that's normal. Like,
That's
that
right.
is what's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I was having a hard time with the action part, so they all three mutually
Mhm.
support one another. So if you work on your mindset, when you work on taking a step before you feel ready, because if you wait until you feel 100% ready, you'll wait too long or you'll never do it. And you've got the community. It's those three
Yeah,
things together
yeah.
that can really help us conquer the fear.
So my mind's going in two directions, but let's just make sure we touch on like taking those steps. I think you
Mhm.
said with shaky knees, right? What can you give us a
Mm.
tip for how to do that?
Yes. Yes. I'm going to give you a tip, and I just want to give you a little bit of evidence behind it. So Albert Bandura, who did all the research on self-efficacy. What he found is in order for people to believe that they can do the hard thing, instead of just sticking to mindset and helping people believe that they can, he goes, the way that you get confidence is you got to take a step. So what his very famous study where he first discovered this is he was working with people that they were terrified of snakes,
Yeah.
right? And so now I don't know if anyone would have a goal of
Yeah.
being comfortable touching snakes, but just go with me for a moment.
I'm
So in
with you
order
because
to,
I don't love snakes. People
I
always
don't love
want me
snakes
to touch
either, and
them.
I
I
don't think
don't
I have
want
that as a
to touch
goal.
them. But my son really wants me to love snakes. So this
Oh,
is
see,
weird
okay,
for it.
this
Yeah.
I was meant to tell the story, so
Yeah.
you're gonna have to tell him who you had on the podcast. So Albert Bandura said, okay, if people are gonna overcome the fear, we can't just tell them like snakes are nice, snakes are not. You can talk all day about how nice snakes are, but people still have the phobia of snakes. So the
Right.
only way that you end up building the confidence around snakes is you have to take a step. So what he would do with those, these patients, he would show them a photo of a snake, and it was
Yeah.
uncomfortable. But he did that on purpose. You take the step forward, it's uncomfortable. Then he showed them a video
Yeah.
of snakes when they're
Yeah.
moving. Ooh, even like more uncomfortable. And then he would bring a snake into the room, but in what do you call it? The
Like a
aquarium
yeah.
closure on the other
Yeah.
side, and bring it closer. Then he would hold the snake, and eventually they would be holding the snake. So
Yeah.
he called these mastery experiences. You take a little step forward and another little step forward. And every time you
Yeah.
take a step forward, it is taking voluntary action
Right.
in the presence of fear toward that worthwhile goal. So he says the only way is you got to take a step.
Yeah.
You got to take a step. So let's believe that we can do it, but then we've got to take the step. So let me give you the practical tip here. We have the most cognitive resources, our best ability to do the hard thing early in the day. I call it attack the day. What is the most important goals that you have? What do you fear most?
Yeah.
We have the most willpower to get those things done early in the day. This is Roy Baumeister's research. So many times what we naturally do is we do the easy things first. Like I'm just going to do my email and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I'm going to wait and do that hard thing at the end of the day. But we're asking a tired brain that is depleted of all of its best willpower, motivation, resources to do it at the end of the day. And that's why it gets put off until the next day. So my practical tip is, number one, know that you're not supposed to feel ready and it's supposed to feel scary. And and when you feel that fear, that's when you need to take the step. And don't think about it too much. Just get up and make it the first thing you do, attack the day.
Yeah.
And then, oh my gosh, when you do that, when you take that one step early in the day, it's amazing how you feel. You're like, whoa, I already did that today. And then the rest of your day goes so well because you did the hard thing.
Yeah.
Is the opposite where when I procrastinate until the end of the day, do the hard thing. And then I'm just dreading that hard thing
You're
until
just kind of beating yourself up if you don't do it or yeah.
and
From my own experience, I'm wondering if this aligns with the research. Like you feel like you accomplished something and also you're going, oh, that wasn't so bad.
exactly. And that's what Bandura was saying about it's called mastery experience. You're actually creating evidence for yourself that I did that. It wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
And then really, if I'm going to nerd out a little bit here, when you look at now the neuroscience around bravery, when you force yourself to do the thing you don't want to do early in the morning, you're giving your brain a little workout saying, and your brain goes, whoa, it's like, that was a workout and that was uncomfortable. Like I better start creating new neural pathways between, my prefrontal cortex and my ACC. So our brains are plastic. It is so fascinating. Just like our bodies adapt to how we work them out to make them stronger, our brain does the same thing. So the more you do these things, easier it gets over time because our brain just gets more used to it to be able to do it, or it becomes easier for us to do it.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful and so true. And I love where, I'm just the sidelines of the science, but I can nerd out on almost anything. But how science and maybe some of the more woo-woo mindset stuff are finally starting to speak the same language because we're really discovering things like how our neural pathways rewire, right? There's actually a physical thing.
It is a physical thing. Well,
That
and you say woo-woo too. Gosh, I study positive psychology, but I'm not a real woo-woo girl.
yeah,
But now I know there's certain things where I'm like, "This is so awesome. This stuff works." And I used to call it woo-woo, but then once I studied it, so this is why, when I go speak for companies or I speak at events, I call it a warrior mindset. And the reason I do is if you wanna be brave, like, I wanna do a little cognitive reframe. So when I call it warrior mindset, anyone in the audience is like, "I wanna be like a warrior. I wanna be tough."
yeah,
So I'm doing a little cognitive reframe in there. So anyone who might have gone, "Oh, positive psychology mindset," roll their eyes, "This is a bunch of
right.
woo-woo," like, I I call it that on purpose so people they wanna do it.
I love that, and I think that just, that totally fits in. When we were talking about the snakes, I was thinking about for me, I'm a face my fears person, sometimes some places more than others, but, like, I really observe snakes, and I briefly stayed in a house with a snake, and I just, like, watch it in its aquarium, and then one day I realized I was looking at snake poop. And I'd never thought about snakes pooping because my fear is all around they move, right? In a scary
Mhm.
way, and they're gonna surprise me. And it was this huge, just like, I wanna be aware. It was like, "Oh, they have these little poops," right? Like, they're scary, they poop. Why? But it was like I'm still a bit scared of snakes, but it was, like, dramatically different after it was like my attention shifted
Yeah.
from
It's
scary
just a
moving
living
snakes to
thing.
poop. Yep.
It's a living thing that's not evil and has to eat a different way and poop a
Right?
different way, and yeah, it's just this living thing. Yeah.
That's right, that's right. So,
This is
it
my first
transformed.
I've been on a lot of podcasts. This is the first time we've talked about snake poop. So this is the first one.
We'll call this one snake poops.
I
Or
love it.
poop
I
can
love it.
change your mind. No, we won't call it that. In any case, we do have to wrap up, but before we go, if folks are listening and saying, "Yes, like, I want more of that," or "I'm interested in the book," or "I wanna hire Jill," like, what kinds of folks should be reaching out to you, and what is the best way for them to do that?
Well, thank you for asking that. I really only work at an organizational level. A lot of people reach out to me individually, and I just don't have that yet. But if there's any not-for-profit organization, if you wanted me to come in and speak or help your organization, or I spend a lot of time in corporate America, then I would love to come in and help you. You can find me I'm on LinkedIn. I'm very active in LinkedIn. So just look up Jill Schulman. I also have a website, and my website, jillschulman.com. So pretty easy, Jill, and then Schulman, Schulman. If you go to my website, I have a free bravery assessment. I also have other downloadable free resources. So if you take the bravery assessment, which I encourage everyone to go and do, it takes like 5 minutes to take. And then you get this report and you get a free action guide with the evidence based strategies to start working on your bravery muscle. And then for any scientific nerds out there, there's little citations of where you can go. So I give that away for free. We also are putting on the website, as the book just came out, a free discussion guide. So the book, please consider buying the book because everything is in the book. I wrote this book as a parable as well.
Mm,
I love learning through stories. It's a way it makes it stick. I also am a little bit motivated because I want people to actually read about all three strategies. And when it's a story, you're going to read till the end, right? So it takes about 2 hours to read. It's entertaining, but it teaches all the lessons in an entertaining way. And the main character is someone in an organization. So that's why if you're leading a not for profit, I think you would love the story, and it has all the lessons and again free resources in the back of the book. So yeah, that's the book, The Bravery Effect. So it's about the science of bravery, but the name of the book is The Bravery Effect because
got it. Yep.
yeah, and one last thing I was going to say about just the book title just made me think of one thing is when you learn how to be brave, it like you're going to accomplish more goals, right? And you're going to have a bigger impact. And that is wonderful and that is a great output, but the best part of bravery, and that's why I call it the bravery effect is it's what it does to you. When
Mhm.
you start pushing past limits, things that were holding you back, you look at yourself in the mirror with more pride. Your shoulders are back. It's what happens to you on the journey to accomplish the goal that is the most exciting, which is why it leads to higher levels of happiness and well-being. So that's really what is in my heart. You can accomplish more, but you're going to have a better life when you learn to face your fears with bravery.
I love that so much. Well, thank you so much, Jill. It's been such a pleasure. And thank you out there for listening, for all that you do for our communities, and for showing up bravely in your own life and in your work. Until next time, all the best.
You've been listening to Inspired Nonprofit Leadership. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode or the bonus episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review, and be sure to share with your friends and colleagues. Tune in every week for more useful insights and wisdom on nonprofit leadership. Thanks so much for all you do for the communities you serve. Until next time, all the best.